You're listening to the official Temple University Football Coaches Show with Gelb and Chase on Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP.
All right, that's us. 215-204-9449 is our number. It is a Wednesday. Temple will travel out to Cincinnati tomorrow, and they'll get ready to face the Bearcats in an American Athletic Conference game coming up on Friday. Let's go out to Ed Bergolson Hall, though, right now, and welcome in Ed Foley, who's the assistant head coach and the tight end coach for Temple University. Coach, it's Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. Thank you for joining us today, and how are you?
Great, fellas. Appreciate you having me on.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and our station actually had the news first that Juice Granger is going to be moving to tight ends. I know he did miss some practices this week due to some personal off-the-field issues as he had some family members pass away, but what factored into the change of moving Juice from the quarterback position where he was buried on the depth chart to possibly getting some plays at tight end?
Well, he's a great kid, and he said, Coach, what can I do to help out the team? And, Ramon has the knee injury, so, he saw some of the things that we were doing with him. So we started just, repping him at doing some of those things that Ramon was doing early in the year. So he just came to us and said, what can I do? So we're trying to find some roles for him on offense, catching the ball, blocking, and then on some special teams as well. And his attitude's been great. He's had a great look in his eye because he was down a little bit, I think, early, but boy, man, what a kid. He's a great kid, and he's a really good athlete, so we got to find a way to get his athletic ability on the field.
This isn't the first time that we've seen this university, and especially when Matt's taken over, move a player from position to position. You saw Chris Coyer go from quarterback to tight end. You saw Cody Booth go from tight end to left tackle. Now you see Juice go from quarterback to tight end. What's the toughest part of that transition when you move a player from one position to a new one?
Well, I'll go back a few years on you with Vaughn Charlton because we did it with Vaughn Charlton under Al Golden when I was a tight end coach as well. So it's something certainly that we're familiar with here. The toughest thing in the transition is the blocking, and it's the body position that you need to be in blocking. It's like being in the squat rack, so you have to be in a power position. The athletic stuff usually translates pretty quickly. So like some of the runs and pulls and some of the perimeter blocks are transitioned very quickly. But it's the line of scrimmage blocks, the power blocks, the ISOs, the things where you have to really get low pad level, be explosive, and move your feet after contact that are the most difficult things in the transition for a guy who's going to do all of those things and become a true skilled tight end.
Hey, Coach, it's Chase Sr. Thanks for joining the show. When I had an opportunity to look in on some practices during training camp, I saw you have a ton of intensity and a lot of grit to you. Where does that intensity derive from?
Well, just the upbringing, coming from an athletic family right from over the bridge here in South Jersey, was always very competitive growing up. And, my dad was an athlete and my brothers were athletes, and we always had a lot of intense competition. But for me, to be honest with you, for the last 2 years I was the director of football operations, and now to get back out on the field has been such a thrill for me that I feel so grateful for the opportunity here, and just trying to pass it on to the kids because this is such a great place. We have so many great players here that I'm just blessed to be where I am right now. I come out every day just thanking the Lord that I got a great job and I'm in a great spot.
A positive to take away from the season so far is that a lot of young guys are getting a lot of reps, which is going to pay big dividends in the future years. When you look at the NFL level, we all know what Bernard Pierce has been doing with the Ravens, but I was watching the Monday night game, and Muhammad Wilkerson and Jaquan Jarrett were making plays all around the field, and on Sunday night, you had Rod Streeter scoring on a 45-yard touchdown pass. I know these players are having a tough time right now with the 0-5 start, but as a coaching staff, do you relay the message to your players and say, look what some of these guys are doing at the next level. This is what you can become as a player if you listen to the message and work very hard.
Yeah, because when those guys come back, it comes from us, and it's good coming from us and all that. The best thing for me in my room personally is, we can go back and watch some Steve Maneri film, and he's playing for the Bears now, and we can look at him on film, and they can see him. That's really powerful. But what's the most powerful is when those guys come back and say it themselves. So, when Jaquan was around our guys all spring, he was here during camp talking to the guys. And those guys, Jaquan in particular, and we got those guys back in the program now with Damo and Adam DeMichael. Those guys did it the right way. They worked hard. They studied the film. They were intense. They took every practice was like a game for them. And when those guys come back and talk about that and how to approach the game to a man, everyone that comes back and talks to our team is delivering that same message. And then to see those guys have success from that is really powerful. But it's much more powerful coming from them than it is from us.
Ed Foley joins us on the hotline right now. Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. This is the Temple University Football Coaches Show with Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. And, Coach, no one wants to start off the year 0-5, and you've had some rigorous losses. That Fordham game and especially Idaho really stand out because you had plays at the end that you could have won and they just weren't converted. But how do you keep this team, especially on a short week going into a tough environment in Cincinnati, how do you keep the locker room in a positive feeling even starting off 0-5?
Well, the short week makes it better, actually, because, it's right in front of you. So you got to push everything up, and it's a new schedule. And, you're stressing how important it is to get in and watch the film early and pay attention to meetings because, it's a quick turnaround. So that helps. But in terms of how you rebound, you just got to come out and play the next play, and you got to come out the next day and do what you got to do the next day to get yourself better. It's a process, and that's how we always talk about it. I know it sounds like a coaching cliche, but it really is. And, for guys that have been around the program and have seen these players developing week by week, they can see they're getting better. It's harder when you're looking at the tape and you can see you're playing guys that aren't showing great effort or the guys that are getting worse or they're hurt. But this group of guys, if you watch them, they've gotten better. And we're playing a lot of young guys, but the improvement from week to week has been good. And I think the kids can see that, and that's exciting for them. And we haven't had, throughout the whole thing, we haven't had one practice where we've come out and had to try to, force them into practicing hard. They've come out every day with a good attitude, and they're just trying to get better every day. And I know that's a cliche, but that's really happening here right now. And in my experience, it's only a matter of time before that pays off.
P.J. Walker was the prize recruit of the 2013 class. He got a couple of snaps against Fordham and then saw some serious action against a really good Louisville defense and did a lot of really nice things. He's getting the start on Friday at Cincinnati. Bright lights, national television. What have you seen from P.J. in training camp and so far this season that has impressed you and has you thinking that he could lead this team in the right direction in a couple of years?
Well, he's a great kid. He's a hard worker. He knows he's got a great presence about him. He's got that when you speak, everybody listens to you kind of mentality. So he's got great opportunities to become a leader here. But he throws it as good as anybody that I've seen. He can really throw it. with accuracy, with velocity, with touch. And that, to me, just from the day that he walked, he said, what's going to separate him, from the other guys in the conference or other guys that we've had here in the past. I haven't seen a guy on our campus that can throw it like him since I've been here. So, we're really excited about what he can do.
Matt's talked about ever since he came and got the job that he wants this to be a pro spread offense. He wants the fans to get to the stadium and not know what to expect when you guys line up from the line of scrimmage. With P.J. Walker, he has a strong arm, but he could also extend the play with his legs. We've seen this now be a big theme in the next level at the NFL, whether it's Colin Kaepernick, a Russell Wilson, or an RG3. How valuable is it to have a quarterback these days that could also throw the ball and extend the plays with his legs?
Well, it's really important for a lot of reasons. From a coverage standpoint, it makes guys have to account for him, and if they've got to account for him or any running quarterback, then they're taking a guy out of coverage to account, for the guy throwing the ball. So that's an advantage. And then in the run game, it's an advantage because if you zone read it or if you have your quarterback as a potential runner, then they got to cover him in their run schemes as well. So just from a schematic standpoint, it's a terrific advantage. And then for in PJ's case or Kaepernick or RG3, then you got a phenomenal athlete. So not only can you get him, get him one-on-one, you can get him one-on-one with a linebacker. You can get him in a good situation athletically where they can win and get yards. So I think it's a trend that's not going to go away anytime soon.
PJ's an intense kid. He's a winner. He's clutch from his high school days, and obviously you want to see kids have that toughness. But also when you have a quarterback that could extend the plays with his legs, the biggest concern for me is when does he know to go down and take that slide instead of absorbing that big hit when you're 5 yards past the line of scrimmage? Do you have that conversation with the quarterback and tell him, hey, you got to go down on some certain plays, or do they absorb the kind of those hits?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how Coach Schatz's handling that with him, to be honest with you. But he certainly He's certainly a competitor and went out there trying to run for every yard he could get against Louisville. But I'm not really privy to how they're coaching him do that. But I just know, that's that fine line that you run between trying to get first downs and trying to protect yourself, and not just young players. I'm watching some veterans that have been around for a long time in the NFL have a hard time with that one. So I will leave it to the head coach and the offensive coordinator how they want to do that.
Ed, we talk about keeping the spirit of the players up after an 0-5 start, but when you look at the coaching staff, these guys and you yourself spend countless hours, sleepless nights trying to prepare and improve this team. How do you keep the spirit up within the coaching staff?
You got to be yourself. You can't be fake. You got to be true to who you are. And we've said that we're going to come out with a lot of energy. We want to play loose. We have not always played loose, but we said we want to do that. So we're going to be who we are, and we're going to have a lot of energy on the field. We're going to be intense with the kids. We're going to call them out. We're going to be truthful to them. We're going to let them know, when they're doing things right and when they're doing things wrong. And then we're going to incorporate some things within the scope of practice to make sure that we keep it light and moving fast. And Coach Rule's great at that. He's always been great at that. And you can't change all of a sudden and make emotional reactions and start going outside of who you are. At this time, you just got to stay the course, and you got to try to keep it. You got to make it the same way all the time, so the kids know what to expect. You throw some wrinkles in there to make it fun, but you got to stand true to what you believe.
Ed Foley joins us on the Temple University Football Coaches Show. A few more questions with Temple's assistant head coach and tight ends coach. So you have Cincinnati this week. What stands out from their defensive unit, and what challenges can they present to your offense, especially within the tight ends and blocking?
Yeah, well, they're extremely physical. They've got a number of players in their front seven that are very good. I mean, they're very good against the run. I would say that, to me, would be the strength of what they do against everybody that they've played so far, even against Illinois. They were able to control the line of scrimmage and they play 8 guys up front. They play, and they exchange the whole D-line, and there's really no drop-off. So they got 8 guys that can play over there. But their ends 92 and 95 are dynamic. They're explosive. They can rush the passer, and they can control the C gap, which is usually something that you don't find on the same team every week. And they got 2 guys that can do that. And their inside guys are really good. Their inside 94 is very physical, and he plays off blocks as well as anybody we've seen this year. And then their linebackers are big. They got 250 and 260-pound linebackers. So that's certainly going to be one of our challenges from a protection standpoint, protecting the passer, and also just trying to get our guys to play with low pad level and control the line of scrimmage so we can run the football.
Coach, before we let you run, and you were excellent today, Sean Boyle, he announced yesterday that he retired from the football team after 6 long years here. I know he suffered a plethora of injuries, but what's your relationship been like with Sean? Because it's sad when a player has to deal with a lot of injuries in a career, especially a player that has a lot of talent like Sean does.
I love Sean. I love Robin. I love Frank. I love Frank Jr., who we used to call Pat. I mean, you're talking about a top-flight family. I mean, one of the best I've ever been around. I mean, the whole family has been part of our family and just been here through thick and thin, through everything. I mean, they've been out here for picnics, running the parent group, tailgating, coming into the office with suggestions about how they can, make the parent group better from the parent standpoint. And then from Sean and Pat, you're looking at guys that just came out here and played hard every day in practice, and they prepared like you would want them to prepare their class kids. They were great students. I mean, you're talking about a top-flight family, and Sean, was just a great kid here, and we're going to miss him. And even when he leaves, like even when he's been injured, which has been unfortunately too much, he's been around and involved with the young players, helping them with preparation and line calls, and these are the kind of guys that you want your daughters to date, and they're just a great family, great people. We're going to miss them terribly.
Ed, great stuff. We appreciate it. Best of luck coming up against Cincinnati on Friday, and let's talk to you again down the road.
Thanks, guys.